Welcome to our session on balancing the priorities of work and home over the festive period. This session is part of our Leaderful Women series, which focuses on issues that female leaders tell us matter most to them. However, these sessions are suitable for anyone, no matter how you identify. It's also worth saying that although we have mentioned Christmas as an example, the issues and ideas we will be talking about are relevant for any festivities, and indeed any times when we are pulled between work and home life. Before we start, here's a little bit of information about us. We are a small but hopefully impactful team, and we strive to make a difference by supporting leaders and managers, coaches and mentors. We provide a range of learning opportunities and options, from e-modules to full qualifications. Our focus is on practical application and supporting people to be the best that they can be in whatever role they are in. Here are some of our current and past clients. This list isn't exhaustive, but it gives a flavour of who we work with in the private, public and third sectors. But now to our session. For this session, we will be exploring ways to help us to prioritise work and home life and identifying how we can manage our own reactions and boundaries to create a less stressful experience over the festive period. We've purposefully kept this session brief because we know that if you're here, you won't have lots of time to spare. So giving you a long webinar to watch feels counterproductive. If you're interested in some of the ideas we explore, please follow us on social media so that you can see when we post around balance and well-being. So how do you feel about the Christmas period? Is it a time for fun and enjoyment, or do you dread the extra work and responsibilities it brings? We're going to start with a self-reflection exercise here. You may want to get yourself a pen and some paper to help you record your answers to the following questions. And you may find it useful to pause the video after each question to give you time to reflect and answer. How are you feeling right now about the impending events of December? Are you feeling positive or not so positive? And what is the cause of those feelings? What are your expectations or assumptions about what will or will not happen? What is the evidence behind those expectations or assumptions? What does a successful Christmas look and feel like for you? A YouGov survey from 2019 highlights how stressful we can find the month of December, particularly as women. As you can see from the results, over 51% of women responded that they felt stressed, with 35% also saying that they felt anxious. Obviously, the negative aspects affect men as well as women. But what did you discover in your individual reflection a moment ago that could help to explain these statistics? As well as societal expectations around who does the organising, the cooking, the present buying, what we see most in our female leaders is the strong desire to be everything to everyone, to meet everyone else's needs and ensure everyone's happiness and comfort, all while not dropping a ball, keeping tabs on the endless mental to-do list and making sure that everything is perfect, both in work and at home. In fact, the very idea that we can have a totally balanced and perfect Christmas may just be part of the problem. Considering the topic of our session, this is a bold statement to bring in here, but it really highlights how women have been sold an idea of work-life balance as having an equal focus on work and home life. But that in itself is the problem. We are trying to give everything our all because we cannot bear the idea of one being neglected over the other, of doing a lesser job in one area of our lives. But once we start seeing it as a work-life choice, we can be more proactive about the fact that sometimes we will choose home and sometimes we will choose work. We can decide where we want to focus our energy and our resources and act accordingly. The first step to being able to make work-life decisions is to identify what matters to you most. If you already know what your core values are, remember them now. Otherwise, pause this video for a moment and identify 5 or 6 values that drive your behaviour. What is it that matters to you most? Examples of values could include trust, love, learning, empathy, etc. If you aren't sure what your values are, get in touch with us and we can provide you with a free list of potential values to choose from. Our values direct us in our decision making, and so understanding them is really important. Once we know what is driving us, we can actively choose to engage certain values to make decisions. Then we are able to make better work-life choices. How are the values you have identified driving your approach to work and home at the moment? How can this help you? Pause the video again and reflect on this. Working with our values can be energizing and can give us purpose. Working against or outside of our values will drain us. Think back to your image of your successful Christmas. Which of your values are driving it, if any? Which would you prefer to draw upon? For example, I may have both dedication and love as my values, but if I'm drawing more on the dedication value to guide my approach to preparing for Christmas, I may be spending a lot of time trying to make things right. If I were to be led by my value of love, I may find it more energizing. Once we understand our values and we decide which value we would like to use to drive our behaviours, we can use a tool to help us with prioritization. So let's borrow something from Agile project management methodology. The Moscow model helps us to decide on what we must, should, could, and won't have as part of a project, but it can work equally well in everyday life tasks. Moscow is a mnemonic which stands for must have, should have, could have, and won't have. It is used in Agile to help teams to identify where they need to focus their energy in order to get a minimum viable product. Once we understand our values and what we view as success, we can look at tasks and ask ourselves, based on our drivers, where does each element or activity sit? Must-haves are critical to the success of the event or project. So in this case, what are the elements of your successful Christmas that are non-negotiables? The ones where, if they aren't in place, it would be a complete disaster in your mind. This is where we will focus the majority of our energy so that we can have the maximum impact. Next, we will look at should-haves. These are the elements that, if they're not in place, our experience or the end result would be significantly less than what we would like, but they aren't critical to our plan. We work these into our activity wherever possible. Then we have the could-haves. These are the nice-to-have elements, the parts that would enhance the results, but not having them in place does not diminish what we are achieving. These can only be added if there is time left after the must-haves and the should-haves. Finally, we have the won't-haves. These are the things that do not bring anything useful to the table. These may be things that we do just because it's automatic to do them or to consider them. We let these go and don't focus on them at all. Think about your successful Christmas image that you imagined earlier. Where do the various parts of that picture fit in this model? What are your must-haves and your won't-haves? What do you need to say no to, or what do you need to put in the won't-have box that will allow you to do more of your must-haves, should-haves, and could-haves? Pause here and take a few moments to work through your successful Christmas and identify a few for each part of the model. A final question to ask is, where would you put fun and self-care activities on this? And if you were living through your values, where could they be? What are the enjoyable activities you could include in your Christmas planning? And what value do you need to remember to tap into to make this happen? Which leads us into a really important point, remembering that this time of year is meant to be for you as much as for everyone else around you. Self-care and self-prioritization, well-being, these are all important parts of how we keep ourselves energized and well over the busy period. Ensuring you have the resources to deal with the challenges that come along helps us to keep that elusive sense of balance. This seesaw image is a great depiction of this. When our challenges increase, we either need to focus on reducing the challenges, which is often very difficult to do, or increase our resources. What we actually tend to do is set aside our resources. We let go of socialization when we are busy, or we forego our self-care activities. This is counterproductive. Take a moment again here to think about what resources you have in place, what social supports, what tools and what activities can help you to keep your seesaw level over the next few weeks. Self-care and finding joy is individual to us all, and so whilst we could go through a list of wellbeing activities to try, you will know your own preferences and will likely have things in place already. So we'd just like to finish by asking, what can you do to ensure that you care for your own needs over the festive season? And what work-life decisions do you need to make in order to raise your resources or lower your challenges? So that's the end of our brief session on balancing baubles and business. If you liked our session today, please sign up to our newsletter, follow us on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And please share with any colleagues or friends that you think might be interested in attending future sessions. Diolch, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.